What's up, crypto fam? So today I'm going to show you how I use Axiom Pro to snag insane trades, right? We all want to get the 20, the 50, the 100, the 1000x, right? Buy into coins early and, get a good run for our money. But the reality is a 2x is a lot better than a minus 50x, right? So what I'm going to show you is how I use Axiom Trade, right? So we're going to start off in the Pulse tab, and you can see that I am in the new pairs. And when I first started, I used to watch tons of YouTubers all doing an amazing job because I learned from everyone, the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? And first of all, the one thing I won't settle on is trading anything else other than pump, right? So the protocol should be at pump. Now, what you're going to do is you could let's say the one thing that scares you is a developer holding, right? So let's say you want a dev holding 0%, right? So instead of a coin coming out every second or two, you're going to have a coin that comes out every 5 to 10 seconds on average, right? But the truth is, and I'll show you here, in my display, I hide holders because I don't care about holders. The main thing I look for besides volume is pro traders, right? So come to pro traders, make sure you have volume market. You could do social and dev migrations. Dev migrations are coins launched by developers who have migrated in the past, going on to the Radium pool and inviting thousands of potential people to trade, right? So let me just tell you how important it is to have volume, market cap, and pro traders, right? I'm going to take everything else off, right? And I'm also going to eliminate the dev holdings. I don't want any filters. The only one I want is pump, right? I'd rather see 10 coins a second than one coin every 15 seconds. But the reality is I don't want to go into 10 coins a minute. I'd rather go into one coin. So what I'm doing is I'm looking for a coin that hasn't been out for more than 10 seconds, that has a few pro traders, right? Now let me go into one that has a lot of holders and has less pro traders, but does have a pretty good amount of holders, right? Here, this one, for example, Saruki, right? Has 5 holders and 1 pro trader, right? Pretty good, right? So the volume's at 1,000 in the last 5 minutes. We're on a coin that launched 27 seconds ago, so you have to make sure you're on the 1 second, right? Because what is seeing one candle on the 1 minute going to do if the coin hasn't been out for a minute, right? So let's go into the 1 second. This is a coin that has some pretty good support, right? Not really, it just launched, right? But we're also all the way at the bottom of the coin. So right now we're at 5.12 thousand market cap. If the coin's going to rug, it's going to go down to, let's say, 4.25, right? So here, let me put a little line over here, boom, and I'm going to measure if it drops from there to there, right? You'd be at a 15% if the coin rugged, right? Now, what happens is if you went into a coin that was, let's say, pre-migration, right? Final stretch. And let's say the average one, right? Because if you look down here, it bonds at 58.5 market cap. So I would never buy into a coin pre-migration so close to the level of support, right? Indicating that it's about to cross over to a migrated coin. Because the psychological sell-off for people is that, okay, it's going to migrate, everyone's going to sell, most people are going to sell, or a lot, let me get rid of it, right? So I wouldn't go in pre-migration. If I was, I would maybe go on like at 30 to 40, right? Pending volume and stuff like that. But let's say on this example, right, where we were to lose 19%, right? Sorry, 15%. What happens if you were to buy into the coin over here? So let me get my little line over here. Let's say you bought a coin at 16,000 and you put in $100, right? So if that was to rug and you bought here, you'd be down 73%. If you were to buy into a coin, here, 6.4 thousand max, right? And the coin was to rug, what would happen is you'd be down 35%, right? So there is a huge benefit to buying in extremely early when a coin just launches, right? At, let's say, 5.5 thousand market cap at most, right? If it rugs, you're down 25%. If the coin goes from here, from where you buy, all the way to migration, you're up 840, you're up 900%, right? Which means you're going to 9x your money, right? Going from 5 to 55, where it's close to migration. Is that good? Yes. Will it happen a lot? Absolutely not. If you come into Pulse and you set here a, let's say, you have here your quick buy over here, 0.01, $1.50, and you were to buy into every single coin, hundreds of coins an hour, one of those coins would probably 500x. The reality is, when you go back into all of them to sell, to regain capital, you're going to miss out on important trades. So the question is, do you want to get lucky in crypto and not learn and maybe be able to pay off your car? Or do you want to become a generational wealther, right? Trading after you get home from your job, after you hang out with your family, right? And actually know what the heck you're doing. Do you want to take calculated risks, or do you want to be a gambler on slot machines, right? If you told your family that you were trading crypto, they would think you're crazy, right? What are you doing? Are you trying to explain to them, like, this isn't sustainable, right? But if you can develop a strategy like I have, and my development of strategy is one that is based on some fundamentals, right? I like to learn, but the way I learn is by kind of going against my rules and constantly re-strategizing and recalibrating what I should be doing better, right? So the more mistakes you make, the more you're going to learn, right? So let me show you now with the display with only pro traders, right? By the way, holders, if you go here to holders, there's 1,038 holders, 1,049 holders, and 427 pro traders, right? So a lot of these insiders and bundled wallets, right, could indicate, well, it does, what it tells you is that there's a lot of fresh wallets made just to bundle bot and make it seem like there's more volume, right? When the reality, all you need to look at is 5-minute volume, especially on a 1-hour coin, right? And pro traders, because pro traders indicates that they're using a platform like Bullx, Photon, or Axiom. By the way, I'm trading on Axiom. If you can please hit the link in the description. My code is ROCOBSD. You'll get max rewards. You get cash back on every single trade, win or lose. So even on top of, you just, let's say you won $100, you're still getting cash back on that, right? It would help support the channel a lot, and I really appreciate it. So let me show you, only using pro traders. We don't want holders, right? You're going to look for a coin that's been out for 10, 15 seconds max. I like 10 seconds max. Sometimes I have to go a little higher when there's not enough volume. And right now Solana is at $144, which indicates that there's a lot of people buying into it, because people have to buy Solana in order to trade meme coins, right? So that's a good thing that increases volume, right? Because when people are buying Bitcoin and holding, or Solana and holding, it's much different with Solana, because you have to, there's hundreds of millions of dollars of Solana bought every day just for the simple fact that people want to trade. That'll always bring the coin up. If it goes down, at least there's a good level of support, right? Not so much resistance. So here, let me show you a coin that I look for 2 or 3 pro traders with a volume of over 1,000, right? And now here, this one's been out for 2 seconds. Okay, so let's go back to the 1 second chart. Okay, it's all the way at the bottom. It's at 4,000, right? If you were to buy it now and somehow it goes to 40,000, you 10 extra money, right? But what you're looking for is to go from 4 to 8,000, right? And make sure that when you trade, use the instant trade feature. Set all of your presets, right? I have 0.01, 0.02, 0.15, and 0.25. And on my sell, I have 25%, 50%, 75, and 100%, right? I also activate my advanced trading strategies, which I like to have a stop loss of 20%. I don't want to lose more than 20%, right? If I'm going to lose, I'd rather lose 20% than not set a stop loss, which would be the stupidest thing I could ever do, not set a stop loss, right? And because if I don't set a stop loss, it would go even lower. The thing is that we're buying so early that it won't go lower than 20%, but just in case you end up selling and then you want to go back in, it's good to have a stop loss. So let me show you a coin. Okay, here. This one, Starship Booster, looks like it's getting some traction. Boom. If you were to buy in here, right? Let's see what would happen. All right, pro traders are not increasing. Okay, one more. Whenever, by the way, these are bundle botted. So whenever you see this, it's most likely a scam, right? You want to make sure you do your own research, right? So if I was to buy in here and the coin ended up going down, I'd be down 15%. But if it goes from here, from 5K market cap to even 6K market cap, you're up 25%. You put in $1,000, you're up $250, right? Let me show you an example of one that I would go into. There's not a crazy amount of volume right now, But what we are going to look for is one that has maybe 2 or 3 pro traders. Okay, BRB over here, boom. This is kind of high, right? You're buying in 7,000 right here. You would have already been down 16%. So the stop loss would trigger once it gets to 20% or whatever setting you have. But the good thing is, if the pro traders do increase and the volume goes up within 5 minutes, even though we're on a 25-second coin, you could get in early, right? The Trump coin, the Melania coin, fart coin, butt coin, Fwog Dawg with hat, all those coins had to start here, right? So if you were to buy, if this coin ever got to 1 million, right? Hey, let me go back to one, for example. This with a lot of pro traders. This came out an hour ago and has 566 pro traders, right? I'm on a 1 second chart, so it's a bit tough. It might take a few seconds to get there, but let's see what happens if you were to buy in early, right? Let's go in. You want to do research. You want to go into coins and figure out kind of what went through people's heads, right? All right, the coin launched here. Let me get a ray line out. Coin launched here. Volume started here. Boom, at 5,000, right? If you were to buy in early, right? And you kind of got this level of resistance here, right? And then you came down the support, boom, you'd be up if you held 212%, right? But if you were to buy in early on this coin, for example, and held until it's high, right? Let's go over here, boom, until it's high. Yeah, let's find a higher. Okay. Let's say right here, for example, right? And you were to buy in from 5,000. Okay. You'd be up 1,600%, right? That's pretty good, right? The reality is, if you're new to trading or you've been on a losing streak, you're not going to hold for that long, right? So the advantages of going in so early are you'd be able to double your money, right? But here, let's say, for example, here, I'm going to show you one live right now on a play that I take. All right, Urinal came out 2 seconds ago. Boom. Okay, you would have bought in right in the beginning. Boom, you buy here. Right now there's 4 pro traders. If that increases from 4 to 5 to 10 to 100 pro traders, the volume is going to go up. This is volume botted. You see that? Let's get the heck out of here. Okay. Okay, let's look for another coin. Okay, Spulse. Okay, so you buy in at 5,000 right there. Boom. Right when I open the coin, you buy in early. Right? Would have bought right there. And if you were to buy in early, fast, I'm doing a tutorial, so it's a little bit harder. You'd already be up 35%. All right. Now, other things that you could use are I would use the RSI indicator. If you look over here and you go to RSI, what that tells you, it's the relative strength index. It's telling you when to buy. It's not as good for new pairs, but if you go into the migrated, for example, this one has $111,000, right, in 5-minute volume, which is incredibly good, right? I used RSI indicator together with the Ichimoku, right? So if you go to the Ichimoku and you put in the Ichimoku Cloud, what it's telling you is, if you go to the settings, one thing I do is I go to style, I take out conversion base, and I leave the lagging, which is above the cloud, right? And I change the lagging period from 26 to 1. What that helps is whenever the green is above the red, there's more buying than there is selling. And when the green lag is above the cloud, it's an incredible great time to buy, right? One thing, besides looking at support and resistance levels, right? One thing you could do is you could look at the RSI. The RSI, when it's above 60 or 70, it indicates that there's a high level of buying, right? The buying power is incredibly high and there's a lot of liquidity being added into the market. When it's below 50, especially below 40, that means that there's a big sell-off. So if there's a lot of volume, right, and the net volume is positive, you could get lucky when it's below the 50, right? Because there's a sell-off. So you'd be able to buy in lower, right? So if you buy in lower, you're able to profit your money in higher. Buying in lower could be risky because it could indicate a reverse trend, right? Like this, for example. It could go all the way down and you lose money. But if you're setting a stop loss, you would obviously decrease your loss of profits. Now, another thing you could do is also in the advanced trading strategy, you want to have a take profit. So if you want to, this is good for the new pairs, right? So I'm going to put up, if we're up 100%, I want to automatically sell 100%. The reason why that's good on new pairs is because sometimes the volume goes up so fast that all you need to do let's say you bought in, let me go to an actual coin that has volume. Okay, this one for sure, I can tell has volume just by before I click on it, right? Let's say you were to buy here, right? So the second it doubled its money, right? The lines, the candlesticks are going up instrumentably fast, like a freaking Tesla, right? So the second it hits, let's say I'm at 100%. The second it ticks 100%, it automatically sells. Even though we're on the 1 second, if it goes to 101% and it's there for a millimeter of a second, as long as it hits your take profit line, it'll automatically sell. Now, what happens is sometimes we get unlucky and it goes to 101% and we don't have a take profit, but then it instantaneously automatically goes all the way down to where you bought in. So do you want to be up 100% or be down 0 or be down minus 20, right? Now, when you start thinking like that, in terms of what is my goal? Do I want to 2x or do I want to lose 20%? I look at it like I'm happy not losing, but I'd much rather make, let's say, 65% than 100% sometimes, right? Because if there's not enough support in the coin will just tank down. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to make some new ones soon. And if you have any questions, let me know. Leave a comment, like, subscribe. If you don't like it, tell me why, or just God bless you anyways. And have a beautiful day.